Hello, this is Forex LA. We're going to be going over a few things for the next upcoming week. Today is May 30th, 2015, and I think it's really important for us to do a lot of analysis, or at least set up the next week. But we're going to focus today on looking at the U.S. dollar primarily, because although the euro is moving erratically in a lot of places in the market, actually, and it is. Um, it appears that this week the only way you're going to make money is off of any kind of signals for the direction of dollar weakness or dollar strength. So we should position ourselves accordingly, or at least keep yourself out of trouble. But before we get started, we need to go ahead and get our disclaimer involved in here. So,
Risk disclaimer. Trading foreign exchange on margin carries a high level of risk, and may not be suitable for all investors. Past performance is not indicative of future results. The high degree of leverage can work against you as well as for you. Before deciding to invest in foreign exchange, you should carefully consider your investment objectives, level of experience, and risk appetite. The possibility exists that you could sustain a loss of some or all of your initial investment, and therefore you should not invest money that you cannot afford to lose. You should be aware of all the risks associated with foreign exchange trading, and seek advice from an independent financial advisor if you have any doubts.
okay, so let's go ahead and look at the U.S. dollar and analyze where we are, where I think we may be going to, or where we came from. So if you look here on the weekly chart, we're just going to kind of take a broader outlook to determine exactly where we were and get some pretty basic information as to where we could be going. We notice the price has been riding a 5, obviously, on the weekly chart for quite a while, for the whole year over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, count that cycle, almost over a year. Then we broke through the 5 EMA and found ourselves here testing that 21 EMA on the weekly chart and right into that Bollinger Band. Well, that kind of given us a little bit of a support, and I'll tell you, there are some things that I showed that indicate that we did find support. I won't go through explaining every single one of those things, but we could tell right here in that cycle that we have, let me just get there first. There we go. We found support because we've ended that cycle. If you've noticed, if you look, probably even if you have a slow stochastic or an oscillator cycle, I use oscillator cycles to try to determine when the end of a swing at least exists. And what I've noticed here is that because might be tested, but I believe that have already been broken. But this level here being broken immediately also tells us something too, because that might actually lend itself to be support for us. And just kind of depends on the situation as to how price is going to respond when it comes back down. So we've got some price action in the smaller charts to work out before we determine exactly where we're going to go. So these are some of the places that I noticed that there's a high possibility. So we'll start off probably Sunday testing these levels here. And like I said, because we broke that previous high, and we've also broken that zone of the low, or at least this zone of that low, and price spent pretty much the whole last 2 weeks doing that by getting some US dollar strength. We're probably going to be testing that 5 EMA on the daily chart. My prediction is we're probably, and this depends on how it's going to work out or how Sunday is going to play out, if we get trapped in our 4-hour momentum zone, or if we get trapped on our 4-hour chart here, you'll notice we're starting to form a lower high on that 4-hour chart. If we break through that level there and test the daily momentum zone, we're probably going to end up getting us a nice sizable pullback before we do that. So it'll look something like this. There's two scenarios that we're going to be looking at. First, we're going to test the scenario, places where we might go bullish. So let me just go ahead and get rid of that there. Okay, so let's just go ahead and go through this slowly so that you can get some idea of where we're going to possibly go bullish from. Okay, so we're probably or possibly going to be going bullish once we've tested this level first. Okay, and this is a daily chart, so not you can break it down on a smaller chart to figure out where these locations are, but we can say like right at around 119, a little above 119.35. We're going to test that level there. Okay, and then once price has resolved that issue, we'll probably head up a little bit and come right back down once we've broken through that daily 5 EMA. We're going to start testing other levels. The next level that we'll probably test is that level there, which is right at around the daily 1 hour, or sorry, the daily 55 EMA or the daily 21 EMA. There's also an overlap of this entire fib of that. You'll notice again, we'll go back to the weekly here. You'll notice the 2 weeks that we spent getting bullish on that U.S. dollar, and I said we were going to probably pull back. Well, this is what it looks like on a daily chart. And we spent those 2 weeks getting up there, and now we're starting to test those levels. The first level I believe we're going to test, and I believe we're going to probably retrace from the most, is this level here. Where you see that green dot, we'll test that level. It's also the 382 of fib of the entire 2 week move. And we're also going to be looking at that level here on a weekly chart. It's also the, let's get back to that. Yeah, it's also, if you look really closely, that 5 EMA is going to probably move up this is Saturday, so next week it'll probably be up right around there, just to kind of give us an idea of where it might be. But we'll start testing those levels right at around 111. 118.83. On the daily chart, it'll look like this. We'll probably head up, we'll head down. Now, if by some, high volatility situation, because of obviously we have to wait for the Greece repayment of their debt to the ING, and hopefully. Those dates are coming up too, and let's look at those dates because that's important. We need to understand exactly when those dates are happening here. So if we look, yeah, we've got the IMF, is going to be looking for their money back from Greece, and that payment is due on the 4th. Okay, the one that's critical to me, and this is the one that's, and will probably end up doing something close to that 50%, which is right around that 118.32, and then we'll start working our way back up. So again, it may happen that way, it may play out that way, it may not. And by doing this, I mean we're probably going to be doing something like that, and like that, and then working our way back up for the whole reversion for the day or for the weekly chart. This is a 4-hour chart, so we're not really we're only looking primarily on that 4-hour chart to see if we're going to start testing the daily chart. And I just kind of marked up my chart so that you can see on the 4-hour chart where that daily the daily zone is. And to give you an idea, we'll probably, that lowest point that you saw here on a 4-hour chart, actually right at around that level there, is going to appear somewhere at around here. And if we broke through that zone, we'll probably end up somewhere there. Now, worst case example or scenario would be that we ended up getting or breaking through a lower level because of the the volatility of the euro. Again, if they do make that payment, we're going to be looking at this thing soaring. So now let's introduce that. Now, if they do make their payment on time on the 5th, for some reason, which no one believes they can, the euro is trying to put together a package. The eurozone is putting together a package to pay or help Greece pay back that debt, which no one looks like they're trying to do right now. There's very little talk about quantitative easing to help Greece pay back their debt. So there's a high possibility that they're going to default on that loan, and that's going to send big time strength to the dollar. We'll probably just test this level here, and we're going to probably take off from that zone there. In other words, we're going to get a very, very, very shallow, and it depends, and I think the market's probably going to wait. I'm not really sure. It just depends. Price will probably test somewhere in that zone here. In other words, we'll look at, we'll see some volatility, but for the most part, price will probably come in inside. Let's move that out of the way. So it'll look like this. We'll get a better ifs involved where price is. But the main focus and I only brought this up, and we're focusing in on the U.S. dollar, is the main focus is because of the massive amount of volatility, we're going to need to see where the dollar is going to be once the decision is made. But I do not foresee price getting any lower than right around 117.80. I just don't see it happening, and there's a possibility that it will, but we'll probably, with all likelihood, retrace back to at least 118.75, 118.50, 65, and take off from there. So that's my analysis, and hopefully, if we want to take a look at, let's go ahead and take a look at the euro and see where it is right now. And if you look at the euro right now, we'll look at the daily chart here. So if the euro gets stronger, it'll be because Greece bailed them out. We'll probably end up right around this level here. There's a really good chance that we're probably going to end up going back down here, because there's a really good chance that the euro is going to drop like a rock. We're already at that daily momentum zone here. If you look at the 5 EMA, we're pretty much, right there now. I don't believe we're going to capitulate these levels. We could, because we're going to see a lot of volatility. But for the most part, you've got the NFP following right behind their date that they're supposed to be due. I think we will resolve whether we're going to break this level or not. So it's going to be critical if you look at the daily chart on the euro. But that's not where you're really going to be trading from. What you're going to be doing or focusing your attention on is trading the U.S. dollar strength or the U.S. dollar weakness. So your focus, and the only reason why I'm saying that is because the U.S. dollar is going to get stronger or weaker based upon the decisions that are going to be made for the upcoming week. So just be careful when you sense that, some of those key levels that we had discussed are being hit. Now you want to start thinking about going long or short on the euro. In the case where I'm talking about, we're looking for places to go short on the euro if we're going to go short, or matching up the U.S. dollar with any of the other currency pairs is going to give you some kind of an idea of where we're going to go. So that's it. If you have any questions, please, write down, fill out the comment section, and let me know what you're thinking. If you've come up with some different ideas as to what's going to happen this upcoming week and the next couple of weeks, pending the the crisis in Cyprus. uh, yeah, please feel free to leave some comments just to kind of give me an idea of what you're thinking, and we could. I'd more than love to discuss some of these topics in response to your comments.